Okay, so now that I have my motherboard installed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the processor into the slot. You got to be very careful when you're doing this not to touch certain parts of the processor. What I'm going to do is flip this panel up, making sure not to touch the bottom. And what you have to do is align this arrow with the arrow that's in the slot for the processor. Should fit right in. Once you have it in, you pull this lever back down and lock it into place. That now has been installed. Okay, once you install your CPU, you have to put what's called a heatsink over the CPU. That's what cools your CPU down so it doesn't fry. Now, I previously installed the CPU due to the fact that it was very hard to get in. I applied thermal paste to the bottom of the CPU, bottom of the heatsink, which goes on top of the CPU. It helps keep the keep the CPU cooler while it's running. And right now, all I'm going to do is connect the power, just like this. And then now the heatsink is in place. The next thing I'm about to install is the RAM sticks. I have two of them right here, two gig RAM sticks, makes 4 gig. What we're going to do is install them in the slots here. It should be color coordinated. The best positions to put them in are like the 1 and 3, unless you only have 2 on your motherboard. But in my case, I have 4, so I'm going to put them in the 1 and 3 slot. What you're going to do is align these up with the coordinated pieces. It has a little notch here, and it pretty much shows you which one goes here. You open these up, and once you put it in, you just slide it in place and push down until it clicks into place. Now I have matching RAM sticks here. It's always good to keep them of the same kind. There you go. That's installing the RAM. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to install is the DVD drive. What I'm going to do is put it into the front of the case. And I'm going to release this here because this locks it in place. It helps it hold in position better. I've already punched out this slot in which the DVD drive is going to go in. What I'm going to do is just easily slide it in. Make it nice and flush. Once it's in place, there are screw holes here to hold it, lock it in place, which I have this thing that actually holds it in place, but what I'm going to do is add a few screws just to make sure it doesn't move at all. Now the DVD drive is installed and in place. Now the next thing I'm about to install is the hard drive. What I'm going to do is move these cables out of the way. I'm going to install the hard drive at the bottom bay. It'll be easier to work around, just to get around my graphics card and everything once I install that. What I'll do is just stick this in and align the holes. Mine won't go all the way due to the fan, so I'm going to leave it in this position. And I'm just going to lock it in place and and it's not going anywhere. Okay, now I'm going to be installing my graphics card. I have a pretty large graphics card compared to the size case I have, so I have to maneuver it around a little bit. I punch out the back panels already, that way it'll slide through. All I have to do is align it, drop it down into place, and then you have to fasten it down with screws. Okay, so now that I stuck my graphics card in, I'm going to start plugging everything together. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start by plugging in all the front electronics of the case. I already started by one. This is already the reset switch. This is an adapter that I'll stick into the motherboard. And all you have to do at this point is just start reading the cables and lining them up. You know, the red is positive, and right here it says HED positive. This is the power switch. I had already previously installed the reset switch. On this side we have the power LED, which is right here. You have a positive and negative. That tells you which is which. Okay, so I just installed all the little cables that go into the front, the LED lights and everything. It's a very tight squeeze down here, so it took me a minute just to get everything plugged in. Next thing I was going to do is stick in the audio and the USB plugins that go to the front ports. And right down here it'll tell you the USB. And I have 3 different ones to choose from. So I'm going to just try to conserve space here. Get it in this back one here, just to get everything plugged in. Next thing I was going to do is stick in the audio and the USB plugins that go to the front ports. And right down here it'll tell you the USB. And I have 3 different ones to choose from. So I'm going to just try to conserve space. Okay, now I've already installed all of my ports for the front, the USB, the audio, and everything. Now I'm going to start putting in all the power switches for things. Here's the main power switch to the hard drive, to the motherboard and everything. That goes in there. This will connect right over in here, attached to the motherboard. This we can move to the side for a moment. These are cables for the power for the fans. I have 3 fans, one on the front, one here, and then one on my side panel. Right now I'm going to connect this one to the farthest away, which is my hard drive, which is very cramped right now. This is the SATA power cable. Now I'm just finishing by putting in the SATA cables, which I have to maneuver all the way down to the bottom of the case. That one clicked in. And then last is the SATA cable for my hard drive. So I finally just finished connecting on all of my SATA data and power cables. I kind of stopped for a minute because it got really cramped in here trying to do this. So I took some time and tried to, you know, fix things up and make it look nice in here, get some of the cables out of the way, especially for this fan and some of the other fans in here. And in just a minute I'm going to try to connect it up and boot it up. Alright, so at this point now I've already organized everything. I'm just going to slide on one of my side panels right now. It's a closed part of the case. Either side panel has a fan in it. I may install that later. As for now I'm just going to close it up, just this side, until I finish with everything. As for now, that's it. Alright, so at this point I've already finished the build. I'm just going to turn it on and make sure everything goes into BIOS. So at this point I'm in BIOS, and all I'm going to do is configure a few of the configurations. Like the time setting seems to be correct right now. The date. So, going to the boot. I'm going to save this. And it works. And now I'm going to soon start installing Windows and everything on it.